Welcome to Transformative Principle, where I help you stop putting out fires and start leading. I am your host, Jethro Jones. You can follow me on Twitter at Jethro Jones. Welcome to Transformative Principle. I am your host, Jethro Jones. You can find me on all the social networks at Jethro Jones. Transformative Principle is a proud member of the B Podcast Network. That is the place you can go to find all the best education podcasts out there. bpodcastnetwork.com to see all of our shows. There's about 40 of them now, maybe closer to 50, actually. I misspoke, closer to 50. So go check those out. Today, I am excited to have on the program Dr. Sandy Breece, and she is a former superintendent, and I'm sorry, let me start that over. Dr. Sandy Breece is the founder and superintendent of Telesis Center for Learning Incorporated, founded in 1991 in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, which includes 2 tuition-free public charter schools, Telesis Preparatory Academy for grades 9 through 12, and Telesis Preparatory for grades K through 8, which she oversees and operates as the nonprofit corporation Telesis Center for Learning Incorporated, with a staff of 48 and student enrollment of 350. And there's a bunch more about her that we are going to get to probably in the interview, and certainly you can go read more of her bio on the website transformativeprinciple.org, where we'll have links to everything that we talk about here. Sandy, welcome to the podcast. So grateful to have you here.
Thank you very much, Jethro. I'm so glad to meet you.
Now, a lot of people are just coming around to learning about charter schools, but you started this school back in 1991. So this is like 34 years ago. It's a long time. 33
That's right.
years ago.
And in fact, you've hit a bullet point I would want to point out is that I started my school before charter schools were ever invented.
Mm.
And they were nowhere in the nation. They didn't come around till about 1994, and that was back east. And it took a while for it to roll towards my part of the world, is in Arizona. So I didn't even know what charters were. There was no such thing. So the only
Mm-hmm.
way I could open my school was as a private school
Mm-hmm.
versus a district or government school, as some people call them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then you transition to be a tuition-free public charter school, which then allows you to serve anybody, not just those who can financially afford it. So why did you start this to begin with?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I was in a small community, and that was 33 years ago. So Lake Havasu City in Arizona, any of your listeners that have been there will know that it has grown and grown and grown. It started way back long ago in 1994. I'm sorry, 1994, 1964. Excuse me,
There you go. It's all good.
1964. I got to go back a few decades. 1964. I moved there sight unseen with my parents in 1966. And much later, after I became a teacher and taught for about 18 years, I saw that the community needed some choice. And choice wasn't even a trend then. It was you either went to a public school or you went to a private school. That was it. And as our community grew, we needed a choice. And I saw it with my own son, who at that time was only a third grader when I had this great idea. And I never knew it was going to develop into a
Mm-hmm.
school, but to do something different by the time he became a middle schooler, which at that time was in the vicinity of 6th or 7th grade. And
Yeah.
middle school wasn't even a thing then, but
Yeah.
it was junior high then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
made it my goal to do something different because I was part of the system and he was still falling through the cracks. And I was a teacher with the school system and couldn't make it happen as it should have. And
Yeah.
class size was horrendous because Lake Havasu City couldn't keep up and the
Mm-hmm.
school district couldn't keep up with the enormous residence that we acquired so quickly. So it
Yeah.
was difficult. Class sizes were on overload. So I saw a need and I went to work on planning it. And then I opened a private school for 9 students in 1991. Yeah,
Wow.
right.
Wow. 9 students. That's crazy.
Uh,
So, and now micro schools are all coming back in the rage now. And
yeah.
that's a lot of people are focusing on schools that small. So what was it that made Telesis different and still makes it different today?
Thank you so much for asking that because our emphasis then and our emphasis now still is small class size. We keep our classrooms small, about 20, no more than 20. 21 is a big number for us. We keep it about 20, and anything bigger than that, we work hard to get another teacher to make it smaller. And so even today, with our 350 students, we still keep our class sizes small and our philosophy is still the same, and that's individualization of instruction. We individualize everything. That's why class size needs to be small.
Yeah. So how do you keep class sizes so small? Because everybody's saying there's not enough money to do that,
That's
especially
true.
big districts, and yet you're figuring out a way to make it happen with the same dollars that a regular district would have.
Because that's our philosophy and because that's what makes us different and sets us apart from other schools, other public schools, and that are tuition free, we keep we hold to that promise. We make that promise not only to our parents and our students, but also to our teachers. There's
Hmm.
teachers that seek out smaller schools for that very reason, so they don't have overcrowded classrooms to teach in, but they have a guarantee. And so we find a way to bite the bullet and we do lots of fundraising. We're always working on ways to make it work.
Hmm.
So it's every year is a different year and a new year, and it's so far for 33 years it's worked out just fine, and we're doing striving to do very well today.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that I talk about in my book, How to Be a Transformative Principal, that if you have a vision, then you can find ways to make that vision work. And
Exactly
if your
right.
vision is small class sizes, then that's how you define yourself. It's going to be impossible to make decisions that lead to larger class sizes. How would you take that approach of having that clear vision and how that helped?
Okay, well, our vision has always been small class size and individualized instruction. And for 33 years, that's all we practiced is that kind of
Hmm.
a style so people that seek us out for that reason, for a small class size environment for their children, for also for individualized instruction. So we become kind of like a second family. So an
Hmm.
extension to their own personal family. We know our students very well because we get to know them in the small classroom that doesn't have 32, 34, 35, 40 students in it.
Hmm.
We keep it small, about 20. So that is very conveniently works in well for people that are looking for that kind of individualized treatment.
Yeah, and this is where I think it's so important that you can't even fathom doing something different besides small class sizes and individualized instruction because it's not in your DNA, right? And
I was
so,
You
yeah.
took the word right out of my mouth. I was going to
Right.
say it's just not in my DNA to do it because when I was with the school district, the big school district that had overcrowded classrooms and still does have somewhat overcrowdedness in their classrooms, it's
Hmm.
it's important to me. And that most teachers that are dedicated to what they want to do, they also consider that a strong benefit for a teacher to have a
Hmm.
small class size. And so that's what we uphold and that's what we do. And I don't see it changing for any time soon.
Yeah. Well, and the other part of that is that when you have a clear vision for what you're doing, then you start attracting people who like that also. Can you
Absolutely.
share some stories or examples of how you've attracted great talent because of your individualization and small class sizes?
Yes, the teachers that drive a long distance to commute to get to our school. We've had them come from other communities in the area that are, anywhere from 45 to 65 miles away, and they commute every day. they come in the morning and they go home at night, come the next day in the morning and go home at night. So yeah, it's they do that because they want the small class size and the individualized instruction. And I'm happy to say that we have a lot of longevity at our school with our instructors, our educators. They come back to us. They don't want to leave. They don't even if they're seeking a higher wage, they come back to us. So it's very, and we've had two teachers that have left to check out the grass on the other side to see how green it is, and they turn right around and they come back in a year or two. So I know that's true.
Yeah, I believe it. So you started the school a long time ago, 33 years. That is longer than most people's careers. That's when you started it. So
That's right.
so the world has changed, the dynamics have changed. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking, well, maybe I should start my own school? Like, it's not too late to do that. There is value in doing it. What would be your advice to someone who's thinking about doing that today?
My advice would be, first of all, don't do what I did and wait for 3 years to start. I thought about it and researched it, and it was a song playing in my head, I'm Henry VIII, I am, I am, I am, I am. I can't get it out of my head. So that song kept playing in my head, and I should have started sooner. But I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. I didn't have a colleague that was firmly committed to doing this. And so that made it difficult. And now that I'm a retired principal, but still superintendent of my school that's still thriving and growing today, now I have a little more time to be more flexible and consult with others who are just as passionate as I was about doing what I did and waited too long to do it, so I can help them along the way. And that's why I founded School Founders Academy.
Yeah, I think your advice to find community is really powerful because when you're trying to do this all alone, you can feel like you're crazy. And
Yeah,
when you've got people around you who can buy into your vision and believe in it also, then it really changes things and makes it possible for you to be successful in actually doing it.
that's
So
true.
don't wait, find community. What else should they do or know before they start down this path?
Well, if they're committed and it's a burning desire in their heart and in their gut that they just have to do this, like it was with me, they're going to bump into some naysayers. And
Hmm.
that's just a warning. There's probably going to be people with me. It was my best friends and colleagues. When I told them I was going to start a school, they thought I had lost my mind.
Hmm.
But I explained to them I couldn't go back because it was something that I just in my DNA. I just had to do it because I knew I could make it work. And
Hmm.
but they still discouraged me for doing it. So then I learned to reach out to my community members individually. When I bumped into obstacles, I would pick out a community member who I needed to talk to and maybe get some good advice. And then things got lots better.
Uh-huh.
Then I
Yeah.
began to personalize my community and build it from the ground up. And that's kind of what leads me to talk about my book, Chapter 3 in Power of Community, the anthology that was published last March. And it hit the international bestseller list, and we're so proud of it. And the authors on the back of the book and I myself each wrote a chapter about our community. Of course, chapter 3, my chapter, is all about Lake Havasu City and how it supported and helped in those early days, way back
Hmm.
33 years ago, when cell phones weren't even
Yeah.
even around. So there were many differences that we had. Charter schools hadn't started. Choice wasn't even a trend. So it was, this the stories in chapter 3 are the obstacles that I met with. Some of the obstacles. I wish I could have put them all there. I
Yeah.
might have to write a full power of community book just about Telesis. But it was amazing, and the community is what made it work.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's really powerful. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
So I think that those pieces of advice are powerful and worthwhile. It seems like there's a lot more red tape now and a lot more hoops to jump through, especially For example, I live in Washington and they are not charter school friendly, and they don't want charter schools, and they make it very difficult to get one going. And but you could still start a private school, and that's exactly what you did before charter schools were an option.
That is
Um,
exactly right.
so what would your advice be around funding and getting the money to have a building, to rent out a space, all that kind of stuff? What would be your advice there?
Well, in the state of Arizona, they treat charter schools and have since they first began in 1994. And when they got to Arizona, it was about 1998. And at that time, Arizona treated them like a business, and well, they still do treat their charters like a business. So what you did is you got all your paperwork together and you went to the bank like a business would, and
Hmm.
you borrowed money to make things happen if that was the necessary way to go. Or you did fundraising, or you went to the bank and you did fundraising, which was usually the case for us
Hmm.
most of the time. So that's what I did. I've done that a number of times. We've had major expansions over the 33 years. We now have a full sports sized gymnasium, full
Hmm.
sports program. All of that was in its beginning stages, took lots of hard work.
Yeah, yeah, I
Hard
bet.
work, elbow grease.
Yeah. So my last question, Sandy, is what is one thing that a principal can do this week to be a transformative principal leader like you?
Oh, good question. They can call me because I'm here to help them. I've got the playbook in my head and also on paper so that I can help them in a transformative way to some of those obstacles, like beginning with those naysayers, and how they you don't want those naysayers to crush the pursuit of your happiness and your dream
Yeah,
school that you've been dreaming of, because I know how that feels. So you don't want to go there. You want to continue and do well, and someone to talk to, someone to confide in confidence, where you can discuss your problems. Not that I'm going to tell anybody what to do. I'm just going to tell them, share with them what happened to me, what happened, what I did in that situation, and pretty much the obstacles will be similar, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much. And how should people get in touch with you?
Well, they can read my book, the chapter 3 in Power of Community anthology. It's available on Amazon, and that would be a start. Then they can call me up. I give all my contact information at the end of the chapter. That's Sandy at Sandy at schoolfounders.academy. That's my email address.
Yep. And we've got a link to that in the show notes at transformativeprincipal.org. So make sure you go and check that out. Sandy, thank you so much for being part of Transformative Principal today. It's been great chatting with you.
Jethro, thank you. Thank you so much.